So throughout my studies, I have come upon some things that I think are very important. These are the things that I would like to talk to you about today. And they are self-esteem issues, instinct, expectations, multitasking, the rabbit hole, and being like. And I'll go through these one at a time. The thing I want to start with is self-esteem, because I have come to know over the years that the biggest plague upon the land, the thing that most of us have in common and most of us have, including yours truly, is low self-esteem issues. And whenever I say that, people go, how could you possibly have low self-esteem issues, Dini Petty? I mean, you flew a helicopter, you hosted this talk, you were an anchor, then how could you possibly have low self-esteem? Well, I did. And I have to tell you that if you have low self-esteem issues, it's something that actually never goes away. It's something you have to deal with and consistently deal with, because it always waits in the background to come and get you. Most of us have low self-esteem, and it's because in my figuring it all out, when you look at the number of us who come from dysfunctional family backgrounds, and dysfunctional families include those families in which there is addiction to drugs, legal or street drugs, bearing in mind that addiction to prescription drugs is still the biggest addiction on the planet. So we have prescription drugs, street drugs, and we're going to make alcohol its own special little category for those alcoholics in the world that we all know and have loved. Then there's extreme religious or extreme philosophical upbringing. Then there's extreme poverty. Then there's extreme physical problems that can bring dysfunctionality to family, and extreme mental problems. Then there's verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. If you total up the number of us who come from families where those problems existed, it is a lot more than 50% of us. Now, my family were always contenders for the bronze medal dysfunctionality. We never won, but we were there year after year as contenders. The thing about low self-esteem is, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it starts and how you get it and how to get rid of it and deal with it. So here's how it starts. If you come from a dysfunctional family background in which one of those problems exists, and you are treated in your family with disrespect, you are so stupid. You never hear anything I say. You can never do anything right. Everything you do is wrong. You are too fat. You are too ugly. You are too slam, bam, bang. You learn that it's okay to disrespect yourself. And there's the lesson. It's okay to disrespect yourself. Now, if you've come from a totally, fully functioning, wonderful family, you can still learn how to disrespect yourself if you're different. You're too tall, you're too short, you're too thin, you're too big. You're the wrong color, you're the wrong religion. There's something physically wrong with you. God forbid your sexuality is different. And you come from your functional home where you're treated with respect, and you go to school that way, and your classmates will teach you how to disrespect yourself. So if you have the problem of disrespecting yourself, and in my family, I grew up with what I like to call helpful criticism. Because no matter what I did, it was never good enough. If only I had done that and that and that and that, it would have been okay. So I grew up with this mentality, and I carried it my entire life. And I did not realize until I was age 50 that constantly beating myself up inside was low self-esteem. I always thought that constantly criticizing myself was going to make me better. So no matter what I did in my life, if, say, I won an award for, which I did for a couple of documentaries, if you have good self-esteem and you win the award, you get the gold for your documentary, you go, wow, that was amazing. This is good self-esteem. That was amazing. If you have, and maybe next time when I do a documentary, I might want to try these shots, or I might want to try that. If you have low self-esteem, when I won the documentary, I go, oh God, I should have done that. I should have done that, and I should have done that, and I should have done that, and I should have done that. I spent my whole life doing that to myself. Now, if you're not sure you have low self-esteem, I have a little test for you that you can try out tonight in the privacy of your own home just before you go to bed to figure it out for yourself. After you brush your teeth and wash your face, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Oh, I'm too fat. I'm too flabby. I should do this. Oh, God, look at me. I'm just huge. Oh, my thighs. Oh, my this. All I ever did my entire life when I looked in the mirror was see what was wrong with Dini Petty, because that's all I could see. So at age 50, I figured out it was constantly beating yourself up inside. And by the way, the smarter you are, if you have low self-esteem, the more ways you find to beat yourself up. I finally acknowledged that I had low self-esteem. And I set to deal with it, and I will tell you how to deal with it in a minute, which is literally the most difficult thing I've ever learned in my life, and the simplest lesson of all. And when I learned it, I walked into a bathroom one night, and I flicked on the light, and I looked in the mirror. And when I looked in that mirror, I saw a woman who I thought was beautiful inside and out, and it was the first time that I had looked in a mirror and seen myself that way in my entire life. And I remember standing there in the bathroom, saying out loud, "This is good, you know. This is really, really good." And the next day, I wrote this piece of poetry. This mic, I can't turn it off. Oh. He wants the cord out because it's feeding back, which is good because I have to find this piece of poetry. Here it is. When my light is dimming, I will look back to this point and know that from here on, I live for me. I did what I wanted to do, spoke from my heart, and told myself the truth. I put myself first and believed in my talent, my beauty, and goodness. I came to know myself and loved what I found there. I made peace with myself and saw the good in me and in others, and I learned self-respect, and so I respect others. So how do you go from low self-esteem if you happen to have the problem? And by the way, if you have low self-esteem and you have young children, guess what? They copy it from you. Remember the old saying, which we know is just ridiculous, do as I say, not as I do, because children do as you do. And if you have low self-esteem, they will copy it from you. Because you have it, because you undoubtedly copied it from your mother or your father, or from both. Or if you went to school and had good self-esteem and you were different, kids put you down, then you learn to disrespect yourself in a separate way. And by the way, I was talking to some women earlier about the number of relationships I've had, the number of husbands. That would be a 4. Here's the interesting thing about low self-esteem. You attract people to you who treat you the same way you treat yourself inside. I have a friend of mine who I love dearly. And her self-esteem issues she is resolving, and she's around 50 now. And she was in very abusive relationships. And she said to me, you know, when I was being beaten up, I actually believed I deserved it. And she doesn't believe that anymore. So if you have low self-esteem and you want to deal with the issue, and you would, because if you have young children and you change your self-esteem to good self-esteem, the kids will copy you. If your children, however, are in their teenage years, they're now on their own journey. But changing your self-esteem will serve as a role model for them. Plus, it'll just make your life better. The more you treat yourself with respect. And what does that mean? I said it was the most difficult lesson I've ever learned in my life. And the lesson is kind of told. The lesson is to put yourself first. Good luck with that one, girls. Because we women have a habit, so many of us, of taking care of everybody else. Of course, I could be there Saturday morning for that meeting. Yes, I'll sign up to go to. I'll go to Ireland and Switzerland and Arizona, and I'll catch up with you. Then I'll do the next 2. Of course, I can be there early in the morning. No, I can do that for you. No, it's not a problem. No, really, I can. Yes. And somehow you give your life over, and you end up saying, "What happened to my life?" You put yourself first, and you take care of yourself with. Are you ready? Food, water, rest, and exercise. Food, water, rest, and exercise. Because the stronger you are, the more you have to give. And the weaker you are, and the more you give away, they will keep on taking, and the weaker you will get until one day, if you absolutely burn yourself and fry yourself out, they don't even give you a gold watch anymore. They say, thank you very much for your time. We got to go. Take care of yourself. Food, water, rest, and exercise. The most difficult lesson I've ever learned in my life was how to take care of Dini Petty first. Most of us don't eat properly. In fact, we take better care of our cars than we do our bodies. You would never leave your home in the morning, never, without gas in the tank or oil in the engine. You would never do that because that would be stupid. But how many times do you leave the house in the morning without feeding this? Now, you can always get another car. In fact, they'd like you to buy 5 or 6 in your lifetime, but we only get one of these. But I don't have time. How many times have you ever in your life sat down and looked at your week and gone, okay, I'm going to plan my week now. Okay, breakfast for me every morning is going to be 10, 15 minutes. Here's lunch for me every day. And yes, there's my dinner. Okay, now here are the 3 times this week I'm going to exercise. I don't think so. We always put ourselves in last. I happen to be very lucky with the exercise thing. I don't know why, but somewhere way back there, and I'm talking way back there, when the 10BX and 5BX plans came out, you old enough to remember that? It was the Air Force. And it was a very, very early, I must have been 19, and I started doing it. And I've exercised my whole life. The other reason I look good, in case you were wondering, is a lot of rum in the coffee every morning. I should get that in. So my exercise has always been good. My worst is water. I'll often hear myself say, Dini, drink water, drink water. Food is a lot of us are sleep deprived, a lot of us are not eating properly. I don't have time to exercise, I don't have that 15, 20 minutes for me 3 times a week, don't be ridiculous. A lot of us are dehydrated. Food, water, rest, and exercise. To take care of yourself first is a really big deal. Why wasn't I told this when I was 18? That people were going to take my life, and the more I gave away, the more they would take. I never heard that I had to take care of myself first, that it was critical. And it's critical because, survival, the body demands it actually. That's number 1. But number 2, when your basics are in, your food, water, rest, and exercise, then you can figure out how your instinct works for you. It's your personal radar. And every single one of us has had the experience where you've been in some situation where it doesn't feel right to me. There's something wrong here. Or the problem is when your basics are out, when your food, water, rest, and exercise are out, nothing feels right. Nothing. When my basics are out, I get kind of shaky inside. So everything feels wrong to me. I can't, if I was having to make a decision and try to use my instinct, it won't work. When my basics are in, for me, because if you look up the word in a dictionary, it's natural. Everybody's got it. It's like natural radar to help you figure out if you should do the business deal, if you should hang out with this person, if you should marry this person. God, I should have listened back then. Anyway, should I do this? Should I take this new job? Should I move to this city? Your personal radar is the most effective tool you have. So you get your basics in, and for me, my instinct, it turns out, works. I get knots in my stomach when something is bad. Instantly. Like I'll go through life, and everything's fine. And when something shows up in front of me, I get an instant knots in my stomach. I have a friend of mine, because I've been discussing with these people, his hands tingle. Some people I know just literally hear no. A lot of people just don't, something's wrong here. When you've had, and it happens, how many times has this happened to you? You've been going to do something, and this little thought goes, no, don't do it. And you ignore it. You go right by, and you do it. Turned out that little thought was right. It's your instinct. Once your basics are in, you can then figure out how it works for you, and you can use it to make those decisions.